two hairs and some air that Bob talks about, where it just takes away the brush stroke somehow. But that's a different technique, all different equipment. That's what I was getting to before.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the TF Cast. I'm Willis.
Hey, Grum here. It is the 27th of September today in the solarium.
And I am your host, Jacob Bases. Today with us, we have artist Max Adams. I was talking with Max the other day, and he was telling me about how he was excited about the upcoming show, at the Juried Art show at the Carnegie Art Center, and I figured no better time to have him on and chat about his work as an artist and plug that show too.
Cool.
Max, introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what's going on.
Very good. My name is Max Adams, local starving artist. We talked about going to the Carnegie for the Juried Art Show, which the opening is October 6th from 5 to 7.
Cool. And that's there's a bunch of artists in that show, right?
Out of 177 entries, I think he told me there was 77 that were accepted, and mine was one of them.
Cool.
So 1 out of 77, you'll get to come and see. It could be up to 35 different artists, because every artist got to enter 2 pieces if they wanted to.
Sick.
Wow.
Well, how about you start off by just telling us a little bit about the work that you entered, and then maybe segue into, like, historically what kind of work you've done and what's motivated you as an artist.
Well, I entered 2 pieces, and one got accepted. The one that got accepted is actually academic work, so it's from 2003 to 2006, somewhere in there. If I had to date it, I would say 20XX, because I don't know exactly where it's at. I know it was one of the last pieces I did for my academic work, where I studied up at MNSU here at the art department for like 6 years.
Okay.
Studied under Ria Mingiva. Rest in peace. Brian Frank. I forget the lady's name, but her last name was Johnson. She was a drawing instructor. She was the president of the art department's daughter at the time. I don't remember what her name
How
is.
did the piece come about then, or what can we?
It started out as a collaborative effort between me and another person.
Okay.
And then when it didn't really take off as such as a collaborative effort, I just took the whole thing and made it all my own, because it wasn't really collaborations and commissions haven't been my strong point. Like working with other artists or working with somebody who wants something super specific, not been my strong points.
Sure. Could you speak a little bit to, like, what kind of things you have pulled as your strong point? Like when you went away from doing that collaborative work on this specific piece, like what strength did you lean into?
What strength did I lean into in terms of what I had to take to get it done, or what I had to give to get it done?
Kind of when you said you took it over from it being a collaborative piece, like what did you lean into after it stopped being that?
Just experimenting more with the colors I had and the palette I was using. It was when I took it for my own, I felt like I almost had to abstract it. And that's when I really started getting into non-representational and abstract work and using different equipment, like a palette knife as opposed to a paintbrush, or even like a generic screed that you made yourself. You can scrape paint over the canvas.
Yeah.
That's more non-representational or abstract, they're 2 different things in my head all the time. When you see an abstract piece of work, you have to have something there before that to abstract it into something that's not really anything anymore. Does that make sense?
I think so. How does that foil against non-representational, though?
Good question, because non-representational, I think you start with nothing, and you end up with something that's maybe could be construed as abstract, but there was no image there before. So a blank canvas, and you're not representing something like a portrait or a landscape or a picture of a dog or something. It's something you have to actually look at and find for yourself as a viewer what's in there for you.
So that's non-representational, kind of coming from nothing and then becoming it's not abstract.
It's not abstract.
Because abstract needs to have started more from something.
Yep, you would have to have an image, whether it would be a non-representational image or a representational image, and then you take that and abstract it into.
Is it more about like the meaning of the word abstract? I'm thinking about that now and how it maybe isn't as broadly applying as it gets used.
Yeah, like when people talk about abstract concepts like love or.
Well, I mean, people sometimes just take abstract to mean like anything that doesn't have a clear, like when someone looks at a piece of art and it isn't like, kind of like realism or something like that. I feel like a person who isn't really familiar with art might be like, oh, it's abstract. Whereas it's kind of like, there's a whole list of genres that a person who's really familiar with art might go after.
Yeah.
But that actually makes a lot of sense to me about the original subject having a lot to do with the artist's intent. That's where you were coming from at that period of time. What is the art that you are currently making? Are you still working with like tools that you made yourself, or what are you working on now?
Right now, I'm mainly inspired by Bob Ross.
Oh, really?
And I'm doing landscapes. But I'm doing these landscapes with, I'm not sure what the technique is called. I know it's called alla prima because you do it all in one. Because Bob Ross did all those, all of his landscapes in like a half an hour right there in front of 3 cameras.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where was I going with that?
What you're working on now?
What I'm working on now, landscapes with like fan brushes, liner brushes, lot of palette knife work, I should say. Palette knife work. I've been working with a Bob Ross number 10 palette knife for years and years and years because I had this thing where I was all hung up on brush strokes and like I had to figure out how to not make brush strokes on my work. So I stopped using brushes. I started using screeds, and palette knife just really hit home for me.
Cool.
You can make happy little mountains. You can make trees. You can make
Yeah.
anything with a palette knife, and then you just open it all up to everything with the fan brush and the liner.
Nice.
And it just all comes home.
My mom used to use a palette knife for some pieces. She's an artist, and I used to always like excitedly tell people about, like, yeah, she used a palette knife for that one. It was neat. It was really cool to see the very what you could get with textures that was different from her oil paintings and stuff like that.
I've seen Arc paint with like literally everything from like corn on the cob to dandelions to fruit. I don't know. It's always crazy to me what she comes up with.
Anything you can scrape paint on with?
Yeah,
for real.
or get a texture out of.
Yeah.
You could put paint on an orange peel and print a
Yep.
make a print, make $1 million.
Triple Balls is a media and event production company based in southern Minnesota. We specialize in multicam live streaming and sound and lighting for event productions. Contact us today to learn more or subscribe online to join our newsletter and stay up to date about events and things going on in the area. Thanks for tuning in. Back to your show.
What was it about paintbrushes that made you want to change? Was it just the...
I was hung up on because the piece I entered in the show is all done with a paintbrush.
Mm-hmm.
And it just irked me that I couldn't get that 2 hairs and some air that Bob talks about, where it just takes away the brush stroke somehow. But that's a different technique, all different equipment. That's what I was getting to before. Was Bob Ross is a wet on wet technique with oil paints and specific brushes. My technique is to follow Bob with acrylic and brushes and mainly that palette knife.
Sure. And how long has this been, like you said this is what you're currently doing, but how long have you been like going down this path for?
Oh, since I could hold a crayon in my hand. Yeah, I was really inspired by my dad when I was very young to do stuff like this.
Yeah. And so you always knew that you wanted to be an artist?
Yeah. I think they used to ask me what I wanted to be when I was like around 13, 14 years old, and I would say, I want to be a starving artist. Here I am, starving artist.
I used to tell everyone I wanted to be in the circus.
What did you do?
I told everyone I wanted to be in the circus. When I was a kid.
Nah.
Yeah.
I could see you as a barker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely juggling stuff
Top
and
hat.
yeah, doing all sorts of stuff. Sorry, Jacob. What were you gonna say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, YouTube is a circus. So you're basically there.
It's getting easier to navigate once you don't have to deal with commercials if you pay for it.
You pay for YouTube?
Yeah.
That's sick. I've never met anyone like that.
I think all 3 of us are all mainly YouTube consumers.
I'm a big YouTube head.
Yeah.
It is true. I like YouTube. I also just brief shout out to Nebula because I do pay for Nebula.
Base.
Do you watch much of it?
What is
I
that?
do. Yeah. No.
Oh, I thought we were
I think I
dropping
might have
artist
paid
names.
for it at one point, but I haven't watched much.
Oh, there's a few creators that I really like on there. So like seeing them without art, like it's like $20 a year or something. So.
It's like a education only streaming service started by like some YouTubers and other online creators.
Yeah, sometimes if I'm feeling like, oh, I don't know what to watch on YouTube, I'll go over there and I'll be like, well, there's nothing to watch on here. Like maybe I should actually do something with my life.
What, you didn't check Netflix first?
Yeah.
No,
Ooh, Netflix just got rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get back to art. You know, I've seen you do a bunch. Like the last time that we had a conversation about art before this last one was probably when we put together that time lapse. And I guess a lot of the work that I'd seen from you isn't exactly what I would think of as like. It is a lot of what I would think is non-representational because, like, you know, there was a while where I was looking at like a big unframed piece of yours that I had kind of wanted, and then I ended up with a different academic piece after you paid me for that time lapse with it. But how would you describe that type of work? Like, have you done kind of a lot of?
It's action painting.
Yeah. What's that about?
It's inspired by Jackson Pollock, really, and finding a different way to make a mark and using, like I did with that time lapse, those spray bottles and just pouring it on there and watching it do what it does with gravity, depending on the angle. You know, is it straight up and down? Is it maybe 45?
What kind of, like, what is your planning process for a piece like that?
Oh, my planning process. You just get this idea in your head and start working it. You know, you got to run it by people. Hey, what do you think if I did this? Kind of like when I did that time lapse. That was just a flash in the pan. I just asked you about it because I knew you were an AV guy, and
Well, was that project all ended up in your, like, you painted those for yourself personally, right? Those are like in your living room kind of now?
the main piece is 5 individual pieces, and that's hanging in my house right now. I have tried to sell at makers markets some of the triptychs that were in that time lapse with no luck. Which is, I mean, that's I wanted to be a starving artist, right?
You gotta start.
No, everybody says make prints of your work and sell those.
Yeah.
That's what Art does for sure. She sells quite a few prints.
That's the way to go for that happy buck.
What
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, you know, like, what motivates you to, like, is it like you're just like compelled to the canvas?
Yeah, that's something that I've always had to do to get as effective with what the end product is for the audience. I want them to see and know what I went through to get through this process, like these things I brought you today.
Sure. I'm gonna hold a couple of
These
these up.
smokers, these are all academic work except for the one.
That's
That's
the smoker right there.
the smoker.
That one. This one is this one looks like
That
something
one
else.
is my COVID piece. That was what I did when I had COVID.
Oh, I can see that.
Call him COVID Carl. He's in bad shape, dude.
And then we got 2 more smokers here.
2 more smokers. That
I
one's
think
upside down, Jack.
Oh, right
there you go.
And these are prints. These are like postcards.
Yep, those are prints I had made like everybody advised me to, and I just ended up giving them away. I think I sold one set for $10 at the bar one night when I actually like just got them done.
I think I remember that. I think you remember you coming through with those.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that's another situation of academic and post-academic work. Those 3 smokers are all part of one piece, and it's all elements and principles. I can shake it down as far as, I mean, I got an A in the grade on the grade.
Yeah.
Got super critique out of the deal.
What was some of your takeaways from art school like that? You know, would you learn there? What helps you as an artist today?
Every single thing, every failure, all the failures, all the failures and mistakes or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, failures, mistakes.
Really quickly, you went to failures and mistakes. Is that something? I mean, I've experienced that too with projects like that, by trying stuff and struggling to succeed and then figuring out new ways. Is it just that, like, over repetitions you try stuff and
Trial
fail?
and error.
Yeah. And what did art school help encourage that failure? Was it just structured
Stuff like in critiques, like when you bring garbage to a critique and they go, "This is just garbage. We know you're better than this. Go make something better. You know, go make something that we taught you how to make." But then you get to the point where you're at the same level as everybody else, and you can't just sit there and be stagnant. So you have to go over the top with what you do. So you take it to a point, and if you're not, I don't know if satisfied would be the right word.
Yeah, well, I think, it's like, what motivates you to go to art school in the first place? Like, if that motivation also doesn't drive you to, like, push you into that place, like, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Because I've met a lot of folks where it's like, they're like, oh, I could go to art school, and then some people are like, well, why don't you just make art? And it's like, well, I mean, there's definitely like value in either path. Like people who go to art school, definitely, I see them making pretty awesome art, and they're like 22.
Yeah, I think both of them aren't worth doing unless you're doing the other anyway. Like, if you're only going to art school and you're not like exploring things on your own, or if you're exploring things on your own and not making sure to educate yourself by going to galleries and reading and things like that, I think either way it's not going to work out. So I think either one's fine. You just can't lose the other because you're doing one of them. I actually think, at least for me personally, as an artist, two of the things that aren't both things that I dread, but that actually push me the most are setting restrictions and goals / like due dates for stuff. Actually always pushes me really hard, and not to make the best thing, but it pushes me to flex those muscles and therefore make them stronger. Whereas making a piece where I have none of that is almost more like a marathon. It's more like putting in like a lot of time to really make sure it's right. Yeah, so I actually think restrictions and due dates are great for you as an artist to flex those muscles, which is really what it seems like those art schooling things are, besides obviously like teaching you like objective concepts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of deadlines and.
Well, it takes a lot of self-discipline to like set a deadline for yourself anyways, like especially when you want whatever you do to be great, but it's like, well, okay, I guess I could just practice for like 2 years,
A lot of what you've got in your work is like you said, so are these ones?
These are full-on representational.
Those are representational.
You're supposed to see a nose and a mouth and a cigarette.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you think about those like core art sort of frameworks, like lines or perspective?
Every single piece I make, I think about it. I have to because, well, I don't have to. I just do it because I've been trained to do it that way. Like these, for example, the elements and principles are. You could teach a class with these 4 pieces about elements and principles.
Balance, contrast,
form, contrast, line, movement. The rule of threes is a really good element and principle. That's what these are based off of.
Okay.
What is the rule of threes?
It's when you take your composition and you divide it by 3, so you have 9 squares instead of just one big square.
Yeah.
And you put the emphasis on one of the intersections of the lines you made. So the emphasis would be like right here.
Oh, I see.
At this intersection, like a tic-tac-toe. Hashtag.
Yeah.
Across the whole image.
Yeah.
And then the emphasis will be on one intersection. So if the emphasis is on this intersection, then the non-emphasis would be up in here.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And they're all different, but they hang so that one emphasis is here, one's here, and one's here.
Yeah.
And then the non-emphasis is where there's a non-existing piece.
Do you find that if you've gone through a piece and you've kind of forgotten a principle, that sometimes you find that as a solution to like a challenge you're experiencing with it? Like, oh, I need to add more balance, or like maybe there's not enough line.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The piece I entered into the Carnegie show, or that got accepted, there's so many mistakes and things I would, like, if I want to go back and redo that, I wouldn't just add a piece of canvas to the bottom and not truncate him. Because I feel like when you see it, you'll know after I said that I truncated him. That's like against the rules to truncate a self-portrait if it's supposed to be a full body situation. I truncated him. Cut them off right at mid thigh.
Yeah.
So if I would go back and redo that, I would start from scratch, but I would use some of the same techniques I did to make it in the first place, but I would not truncate them. I would be more anatomically aware. As you look at it too, you'll see that it's not muscles and sinews. It looks like muscles and sinews, but they turn out to be more weird faces and robots and shit like that.
This creator I really like, his name is Jacob Collier. He has this philosophy when he's like making music that I think applies kind of to what you're saying, how he says like to maintain like groove or to maintain like something being something relatable, you have to take all the elements of a song, let's say like key, rhythm, swing, and BPM, and you have to pick like 2 of them that you're going to keep like foundational and like fundamental, and then pick the other elements and mess with those and push those to their limits and mess with them, but make sure to keep some element the same throughout to maintain the groove. And I think that's a lot like visual art. Like if your line work and your shading and your contrast and your rule of thirds is all off, it's going to be really hard to relate to it. So like you really have to pick like, what am I pushing to like a new place to like make a statement? And a lot of times trying to do it all at once can just be too much.
Yeah, that's interesting. You end up with something that's like almost like textbook example rather than like the art you wanted to show.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, like looking towards the future, like what kind of like aspirational, like what kind of work would you like to be making, or what kind of work do you plan to make in the next months or years?
All the landscapes I've been doing are really small, and I just picked up some larger canvases, so I'm just going to go bigger with the landscapes. Somebody told me to go extremely large with my work one time. I can't remember who exactly it was, but she said, just go big. Just go really big with it. So I'm like, well, I've got a curtain in my house that's about as big as that. So I've been that big, but that big to that big, a landscape with a limited situation. Yeah, a lot more landscapes. I want to be able to do what Bob Ross did, but not with Bob Ross equipment, because I don't want to get cancer and die from like he did. That poor guy.
Was it his equipment that did it? I don't.
It was
Was it like lead-based oil paints or something?
It had to have been something. It was they think it was when every time he cleaned his brush, he would beat the shit out of it,
Yeah.
you know? And they think it was the solvents and the oils and everything all together that was going up in his face the whole time. And he died of some kind of cancer.
Bang.
From the smell-free turpentine is still carcinogenic, I guess.
For the future of your, just like sticking with landscapes and going small and large.
Small, large. Yeah, a lot of happy little trees, mountains.
And are you working off of like photographs, or are you?
I'm just I follow along with an episode of Bob Ross at least once a day.
Oh, sick.
It's only a half hour.
Yeah.
I know you're a really big music fan. Is there any like specific genres or musicians or anything that inspire your visual art pretty heavily?
I don't think so, no. But like you mean like what do I listen to when I make?
Yeah.
I like to listen to jazz. I like to think it increases my productivity, but I usually just got Spotify on the shuffle function. I got the 1,000-song playlist, and I just let it rock, and it's got everything on there from, I mean, name it, anything but a cappella.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the River Blenders put out a CD or Spotify song. I mean, I do like the River Blenders as far as a cappella goes.
Cool. Well, you mentioned the show date. The Juried show was it October 6th?
October
People
6th
could
from
go.
5 to 7.
Okay.
That'll be the day after this comes out. So definitely get there if you can.
Yeah,
right.
And yeah.
Rush to the Carnegie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's going to be lots of cool work to check out there because there's a bunch of artists who are involved in it. So
Many.
Well, is there anything else that we should touch on while we got you here? Anything you'd like to share? Anything you've been thinking on, talking about, working on?
Nah, I'm as far as music goes, I'm trying to get my sound back from 1991. They reissued the Bluesbreaker Marshall pedal, and I have yet to find a reissue or a past issue.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get my sound back from 1991 because I got rid of that pedal,
Yes.
and now I have to get it back.
Yes.
If you could find an OG Bluesbreaker Marshall pedal,
Yeah, I know what it looks like. I know what you're talking about.
they're worth like $1,400.
Yeah, pretty easily.
Burn.
Yeah, they
Sick
haven't made
burn.
anything even in that.
I bought one brand
housing.
new in 91.
Dang.
In 91. Sold it for $150. Was like really happy because I made $75
Yeah.
off a piece of equipment.
I bet you Josh
Fool.
from JHS has like 6 of them.
I bet that guy.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's got them all. That's why you can't find one.
He's got them all.
If you
Probably bought mine from the pawn shop. I know JHS. I've been reading up on them too.
if you were a fruit or a vegetable, which one do you think you would be?
Shit, man. Fruit or a vegetable? I'd be an orange.
Hell yeah.
it's a good one to be.
I'd be an orange.
Why do you think you identify with the orange?
Because if you take an orange peel and a lighter and you squeeze the shit out of the orange peel and light the lighter, the juice that comes out is like flammable and it burns real pretty.
Yeah. And cures scurvy.
You know,
Yeah.
keeps away scurvy, has loads of vitamin C. Tomatoes are good for vitamin C too.
Yep. A lot of people don't know jalapenos are pretty good for vitamin C.
They're good for that capsaicin, get my sinuses cleared up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell, but I've been a little bronchial these last few days.
Me too. It's the allergies. It's
The allergy
the
season.
I'm taking the allergy pill.
Well,
Hey, thank you guys.
Yeah.
No, thanks
for
you.
joining us.
And if people want to look at your work or find you, how can they do that?
Man, I have seen no return on these business cards I have made.
Well,
Like-
I use it to email you.
Did?
I did. I have your business card in my office.
gosh.
Yo.
Did you spell it right? Because you sent me a
I
message.
sent you that message. Well, it's because I spelt it wrong, and then I looked at the card again. And I was like, oh yeah, it was me.
Yeah. I get
So-
people doing that all the time. No, it's Gus Chivas, not Gus Chivius.
I thought it was Gustavus.
Most people do. At gmail.com. So if they want to get a hold of me, I've seen no return on these business cards at all, except for one time. Some lady called me from the Indian Creek Reserve down there by Red Jacket Trail and shit. They said, well, we found your business card in so-and-so's phone. Wondering if you know so-and-so.
Nah.
I'm like, well, thanks, but no. Want to buy some art? That's what they're for. That's what I pass them out for, is people to,
Yeah.
you want to buy some art? Call me.
Yeah.
Can I give out my phone number on the show?
Yeah.
It's not against the rules, no.
Really?
Yeah, go for it.
My name is Max Adams. I make beautiful paintings for your home. My phone number is 507-381-2011. I also have an email address that you can get from my business card if you call me.
Mm-hmm. We'll have the editor put it right here.
Oh, really?
Put it right here. Here.
Right over my face?
Yeah, hold your hand like this. Hold your hand out
yeah.
like you're holding a tray. Okay, we'll have the editor put it right there.
Yeah.
There's your
Okay.
email. Yeah.
Super.
Well, yeah, thanks
The
for coming on the
editor.
show. That's me.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, homies.